But that's really based on the area of where you live or where you work. It's not specific to you. And nowadays, it is all about you. You're carrying around a smartphone or something, and it's that phone has not just, or you're giving information not just about where you are, but what you're doing. So it's contextual location. If you go on lots of sites, people are very readily giving away information about where they are and potentially what they're doing. It's freely available, so if you put something on Twitter or even Facebook, it's accessible to third parties, whether you like it or not, unless you protect your tweets, but then that's a different thing. Most people, I'm in a pub, having a drink with whoever, or you check in on Facebook places, it's available to everyone else. So if anyone who's got fire hose or even the garden hose from Twitter can get all that data and mine it and do what they like with it. So there's quite a few services now who actually encourage you to actually put your location in. You might get points, or they're offering local deals, so you're giving away your privacy to get something back. Again, some of these have quite interesting issues. Like there's a new service called Scoville. You check on Foursquare. If you check in with a private now, Scoville, you have to authenticate with your Foursquare ID. But if you check in anywhere on Foursquare, it puts that in your Scoville stream, which is available to anyone. So even if you checked in privately somewhere, Scoville still makes that public. And people aren't aware quite often that these, by allowing one service to act as another service, you're actually giving them full access to where you're going. And people check in to their homes so that they get the points, say on Foursquare, but they don't want people to know where that is. On Scoville, it's sitting there on the street. Then of course, you can actually completely give away your location. So if that's my tweet, all my tweets are geotagged. And people are willing to give that information away. It's I don't actually have a problem with it, letting people know where I am. If I was doing something naughty, I wouldn't check in or tweet about it. But things like Facebook, they've actually said they're not developing any services based on Facebook places, but allowing third parties to do that. But obviously, they are delivering you targeted advertising based on your location and your profile info. So nowadays, if you've got a phone and it's on, someone knows where you are. Maybe just the network operator, but someone knows where you are. And location privacy is important, but generally, as long as you're willing, as long as you get something back for it, you're willing to give it away. So if you look at emergency services, if you phone in from a normal landline, if it's a home line, they know where you are because you're phoning from home and it's registered to your address. If it's a business, it'll be registered to the business address. If you're on a VoIP line, they potentially get the billing address unless you've actually specifically registered your address where the phone is, which is not always possible because it could be a mobile VoIP line. If you're on a mobile, they get your actual physical address that is tracked from the network, and it's actually tracked in real time. So if you're speeding on the motorway and you call emergency services, they can know that you're speeding. Now there are services that are trying to change the way people do things. There's a service called Echo. What that does is you go, hi, I want to meet up, where are you? And you physically respond, and if you respond, it will send back your location with the message. But you physically have to accept that response. It won't just go, hi, are you there? And then you automatically send back a response. And it's also slightly disruptive because it can actually be your replacement for SMS. So it's quite a cool little application that sits on smartphones. And if you look at Google, they've now introduced something called news near you. So they're offering news stories based, they actually data mine the news stories to find out where they're about and only give you news stories relevant to events near you. So if you're in an area, they'll give you events going around London or around Soho or Covent Garden, wherever you are. And they're actually data mining that, and obviously they're delivering adverts based on only things that are happening around you. Colour. I don't know if anyone has been using Colour. Allegedly it's a picture sharing service. And it's not very good picture sharing service. And they raised $41 million. But they've actually got some really cool back-end technology. And what they do is, as well as geo-tagging the photo, they get the ambient levels of light and sound and other data, and then they've got some very clever software at the back end that matches that all up. So they can tell that photo has been taken in a location with someone else's photo and then match them together. Now, it's just the beginning of that, but the photo app is a sort of demonstration of the technology, not the other way. So the app was developed to show that they could do this stuff. It wasn't done as we've developed this great photo sharing service, which a lot of people don't know about. But so they can actually say that you're in a party, someone else is in a party, and then they've got some very specific information about what they can tie up with that data. And that's the cool bit about Colour, not the photo service itself, and that's why they got $41 million investment. And there's some really, obviously, interesting things in the news where Apple has been told off and very quickly issued a fix when it became public, that they cached Wi-Fi data based on your location. Obviously, that was all sent back to Apple, and then they brought back local Wi-Fi hotspots so they could quickly recognise where you were. Unfortunately, they didn't delete the cache, so they had that information going back for, I think it's about a year and a half. They now do delete the cache. Google, on the other hand, have always stored your location data, and it's tied to your UID. And they've been very, very reticent to say what they do with it and how long they keep it and where it is and what it ties back to. But they have been logging your location data since Google announced Android. So that's been going on for a long time. Everyone gets upset about Apple, but no one really, obviously apart from Congress, who are now shouting at both of them. Sometimes they get it really wrong. When Google had their Street View cars going around, their mapping cars, they put lots of information like GPS, cell tower info, cell IDs, and signal strength and Wi-Fi data. Unfortunately, they didn't just capture the beacon packets that the Wi-Fi says, "Hello, I'm here," and gives you the SSID, which is the Wi-Fi name, and the signal strength. They captured a chunk of data with it. Now, they've said they didn't do anything with the data, and they actually used some engineering software that was never meant to be released into the wild, and whoever built the streetcar stuff just chucked that software in there. But that captured a huge amount of data with the Wi-Fi signals, or just with the Wi-Fi IDs, which breaks various regulations, including the UK RIPA, which is the Regulation of Industrial Powers Act, and in Germany various other ones where they were sued. And they're actually told off over here. They've now stopped capturing that data. They stored all that data. So as well as the Wi-Fi data, as well as the Wi-Fi information, they actually captured user data. And in theory, if you can catch the user data, you can break web keys and all sorts of things. It's not actually that complicated anymore. So we go sort of moving into the future. All the handsets that are coming out are going to have near-field communications. So you can do wallet type transactions. So rather than having Oyster card, you just click your phone against your Oyster reader, or go to shops and buy stuff. Orange already doing trials, announced that they're launching a service, O2 launching a service. But that NFC device, reader and writer, is your ID. And they're already producing advertising billboards that as you walk past, you will get targeted adverts delivered to you. So that advert will change as you walk past the billboard. Conversely, the other way around, the phone knows exactly where you are because it can query the NFT readers that it can see, and then query a database to say, where are these readers located? And so again, we've got highly targeted, even in-store advertising directly to the phone. And that's just going to get even more invasive as time goes on. And then really, it is a case of Big Brother is watching you, but you're allowing it so that you can get points, and points make prizes. Thanks a lot.